Oh man, what's happening, everyone? JayShockblast here, and check it out. Just got done watching John Cena versus Gunther in Washington D.C. Saturday night main event. John Cena's final match. It's over. He is retired, and he's never gonna wrestle again. And I actually believe that. I really do believe that the whole final tour thing was such a great and unique way to do it. Um, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty emotional watching the whole thing go down and transpire. Um, I've always liked and appreciated John Cena. If you know anything about me, you know I'm a massive CM Punk fan. Um, I was definitely one of those Cena sucks guys. Got my title here. We had to get it once CM Punk got this one. I've got the Punk title right there, the spinner. Um, but I'm from Boston. This last match should have been in Boston. It was supposed to be in Boston, but somebody in Boston dropped the ball, and I hope they watched this and held their head in shame the whole time. It's a travesty that he had to retire in Washington, D.C., of all places. But shout out to that crowd, because that crowd was amazing. They did their job. They made that event something meaningful. Um, but let's talk about the match. Was great. All right. No matter what happens, Gunther's coming out looking like $1,000,000. All right. I know there's this tradition that you got to go out on your sword. But this is John Cena, okay? And I think the heel turn was a massive mistake. I think having him spend any part of his tour um, having to be the bad guy was just a mistake. You just missed your window. The heel turn should have happened years ago, and you missed it. All right. Was it a great moment? Sure, but the moment expired, and it didn't feel right, it was flat, it was stupid, and I think he should have spent the whole time just having fun and getting the recognition he deserves. Fans wanted to cheer for him. He worked way too hard, um being the always good guy, and he should have stayed the always good guy. He should have always been the Boy Scout, the superhero, the Super Cena. All right. I you know, I just didn't enjoy that, and I feel like I've seen a lot of criticism for Triple H lately, and tonight he got "You effed up" chants, okay? The fans are mad. Why can't we just have nice things, okay? Again, I get it. It's this stupid wrestling unwritten rule tradition. You got to go down. You got to put someone over on your way out the door, but I really feel like John Cena did that his entire final run. You know, he had the opportunity to wrestle some classic rivalries. We got to see John Cena versus CM Punk for the last time. We got to see John Cena and AJ Styles. We got to see John Cena win the Intercontinental title and then lose it to Dominic Mysterio, who's going to be a star for a long time. Gunther is obviously going to be a massive heel in this industry for years, okay? And I understand that there is now something, just another feather he can have in his cap by saying, "Oh, I retired John Cena. I made him tap out for the first time in 20 years." I don't care, okay? I don't care. That night was almost perfect, and instead of an all-time massive eruption and fan reaction, you're left with people sad and dejected. And then they do the whole, everybody comes out and sends them off and all that good stuff, and that's great. But Gunther had nothing to lose, and honestly doesn't have that much to gain by winning that match, to me. Okay. I just I really I really feel like he deserved. He dealt with a "Let's go Cena, Cena sucks" for so long. All right, he was the villain for so long for being so good, and now he had him eating out of the palm of his hands. Why can't you just let him have nice things? This is a Vince McMahon move, okay? Because for years, Vince McMahon just poured these bad things down our throat, you know? You had to feel like everything was being taken from you. Well, this is the last time. The last time was now, literally. And I just can't imagine what that crowd would have done if he got the 3 count or if he put him in an STFU and Gunther tapped, all right? Gunther, nothing to lose, no matter what. He was phenomenal in that match, and you're not going to lose anything with him losing that match. You're just not. All right. Um, I just got to say thank you though, John Cena. I watched John Cena's whole career, man. I have so many great memories. Going back to living in Florida, 2005, 2006, a little bit of 2007, sitting watching Monday Night Raw on my dad's couch. We're both adults, and John Cena, Chain Gang John Cena, Thugonomics John Cena, absolutely not somebody my dad would have ever liked. My dad was this tough guy, former but still Marine, gunnery sergeant, United States Marine Corps, and he he did not like rap. All right, he was your typical jarhead. All right, I could say it. He was my dad, and God, he loved John Cena, man. Like the respect John Cena has for our military, it didn't matter. Like he adored everything that John Cena stood for. I would even say that John Cena might have been his favorite wrestler. I don't know for sure, and I can't help but think about him. It just I don't have a lot of great memories that I got to make with my dad because, he was a Marine and he was away sometimes. And, my parents got divorced. We were separated from him, living in Massachusetts outside of Boston, him living in Jacksonville, Florida. So, like, to have those memories of us just hanging out watching Monday Night Raw and, him being into Cena. And when I moved home and all these years before he passed away, um, just texting back and forth about, that. And whenever there was a tribute to the troops, just seeing the way, like, he did all that, being this true superhero to the Make-A-Wish kids, which is why I just never thought any of those kids should have ever had to see John Cena that way because they never had to before. And I know that we're not going to remember any of that. It's going to be a footnote in the grand scheme of things, but you know, what a career. And I can't my favorite match of all time, Night of Champions, Chicago, CM Punk winning the world title, the heat John Cena had, that run they had, that generational feud they had. When you think back about John Cena, you think of so many people, The Rock, Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar. And I think CM Punk is as big a deal as anybody, I feel like, as a Punk fan, when I think of his biggest rival, I definitely think John Cena. And it's not hard to think the same for Cena. Probably not him though. But you know, I appreciate what he did for our stupid little male soap opera of professional wrestling, It's something I've always loved since I was a kid. I remember going to the video stores and seeing those big plastic clamshells with all that old school wrestling art, renting all the different pay-per-views and watching Rock and Wrestling and watching the cartoon. Um, you know, uh, this has been a big part of my life for a long time. I always wish I could have made more content. I'm thankful that WWE 2K had me out for a couple events. I've got to do some cool stuff. And for those that don't know, I did go to high school with Aaron Stevens, aka Damian Sandow. Um, we graduated together. Good kid. I was so proud of him. One of the reasons I discovered CM Punk is because when he was in OVW, Punk was in OVW, and they used to sell like these like burned DVDs that you could buy of their shows. And I bought a few because I wanted to see Aaron. We weren't like best friends or anything, but we had lunch together a lot and we had some classes together. But I was happy for him, and I wanted to see how he was doing. And then you see this guy CM Punk, and I know I'm turning this into him, um, but like that was a huge part of it too. And um, I don't know where I'm going with this anymore. I just thank you, John Cena. You know, I don't usually, I've never found a way to really uh make content around my love of wrestling. I'm not that good at the games. My brother Eric actually ghost plays most of my gameplay that you see. Um, and I just want to do a little video here talking about his last match. I really think it was the wrong call, and you can certainly disagree all you want. I know that like the standard and what the boys usually do is put someone over on the way out the door, and I really feel like he did that no matter what. And I feel like he deserved and the fans deserved one more feel good moment to finish it off. Because he didn't always have the fan support through no fault of his own. Um, but man, I've seen his dad at shows. I love, my family loves going to the Kowloon out in Saugus, Massachusetts, which has lots of wrestling stuff going on there. And you go in there, and there's one WrestleMania where actually John Cena wore Kowloon themed shoes in the ring. Um, Great Chinese spot out in Saugus. It's like an hour and 15 minutes from my house, so it's not somewhere we can go all the time, but we've gone there a bunch of times. And it's just, I will say this about John Cena. He always felt like he was part of us. He was a Boston guy until he started wearing. I actually don't ever forgive him for wearing Yankees jerseys, even in New York. You got to get that cheap heat and wear your Boston. You got to be Boston strong 100%. But I also understood that part of his shtick was, wearing the local team's jersey and stuff like that. And that was always really cool, and I appreciated that. And just not when he was in New York, man. Fuck the Yankees. I said it. Um, anyway, I feel like I said what I wanted to say. Um, I'm just in awe of what he was able to do for so many people. The amount of joy he brought to people's lives, and the whole setup until the final moments was so great. And Triple H getting booed out of the building, deserved. I really and truly believe that the fans deserved that. Okay, like I don't care what happens after this with Gunther. Like I don't think anybody cares. We deserved, they deserved that gratification, that final hell yeah moment. Um, it is what it is. I really, I guess the end thing I want to finally end with is just thank you, Cena. Thank you. We'll see ya. Congrats on a great career. I can't find the stop recording button.